Welcome into Steelers Latest, your daily spot for all news and information related to your Pittsburgh Steelers. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content to stay up to date with everything Steelers. It's a big OTA, big mini camp episode today. What are the position battles? What are the changes going on with the team? And who's not going to make the cut when the 53-man roster comes down to form before the regular season? But let's start position battles. The first two key position battles I would like to talk about. Wide receiver 2, Calvin Austin right now, slated to be wide receiver 2. It was announced last week. He is the wide receiver 2 on the depth chart right now. But if I'm being honest, I'm leaning more Peyton Wilson. Not Peyton Wilson, Roman Wilson here. Peyton's on the defensive side. He solidified his spot. But Roman Wilson, I'm leaning his way. I think he's just more dynamic of a player on the outside at wide receiver 2, where Calvin Austin can be more dynamic on the inside at that slot position. We saw last year him break out a little bit with over 30 catches, over like 500 yards last season. A lot of big plays for Calvin Austin in the slot position. He was able to use his speed to get downfield vertically most of the time on those big plays. It's very impressive to see. I think we should use him more there. Once again, this season, where Roman Wilson, we've seen him be able to go up and grab the ball so far in mini camp over cornerbacks' heads. I think his high point ability is way better than Calvin Austin's high point ability. So I think you got to roll with Roman Wilson at wide receiver 2 on the outside, where Calvin Austin can be more of a dynamic playmaker on the inside. At slot, moving to the defensive side of the ball, the defensive battle is the nickel cornerback position, in my opinion. You got Brandon Eccles, you got Beanie Bishop, you got the 7th round pick and Dante Kent. Dante Kent, though, honestly, he's less of a factor in this position battle unless he really balls out here for the rest of minicamp and in the preseason. Then maybe he's more of a factor. I think right now it's going to be slated that Brandon Eccles is the nickel cornerback going into the 2025 season just because the Steelers just invested into him. We just signed him this offseason. So right now he's probably going to be slotted to get more reps than someone like Beanie Bishop, who was an undrafted free agent last year. But going into week 9 last year, Beanie Bishop was averaging 44 snaps per game, and he was kind of progressing consistently all season long when he was getting snaps. And by his last 2 games, going into week 9, week 8, and week 9 against the Jets and the Giants, he had 3 interceptions in total. I know 2 elite offensives last year, but it's still high production from such a low investment, undrafted free agent last year. Once again, coming into this season, he has something to prove. I don't wouldn't be surprised if he continues to progress. Last year, after Cam Sutton came back, his snaps just continuously went down and down later into the season. Still was able to get an interception late against the Bengals in the last week, week 17, before the playoffs, before the downfall. But I think Beanie Bishop can give Eccles a run for his money if he continues to make plays in the preseason, and he has potential to do that. As we saw last year, he made splash plays for this defense in a couple games. Just don't be surprised when Beanie Bishop is an impact player for the Steelers. But let's move on to some defensive changes that Carol Austin has talked about the Steelers making. These changes had to come because of that downfall last year where we lost the 5 last games of the season, where in every game, in average, we gave up 27.4 points per game, and we have the highest paid defensive unit in the league. That's just not going to get the job done. That's not the Steeler way at all. You can't put that much money into the defense and then allow basically 28 points a game, especially when your offense is abysmal. That just makes sure you're not going to win any games. Your offense sucks, your defense sucks. You're not winning anything. But it's going to be more of 3 safety packages we're going to see this year. This is mostly because of the Ravens, I believe. They're going to want to put a spy on someone like Lamar Jackson. Even Terrell Austin said we had a big Raven issue last year with the Ravens in the final 5-game stretch. We played them twice. We got smoked by them twice. not a good look for the Steelers. That's just not what we want to see ever. That's our biggest rival. We got to put them in the dirt. We can't let them be the dominant ones again. I know we had that stretch of like 7 games in a row where we beat them, but they just won 2 straight and 2 important ones. So we got to get back in that rivalry. They're the kings of the North now. We got to dethrone the king and take our seat at the throne once again. But we're going to see more of those 3 safety sets. Juan Thornhill, very impressive so far in minicamp. So he should be on the field more for the Steelers this year. We basically traded Dante KZ for Juan Thornhill, as Dante KZ went to the Browns, and we signed Juan Thornhill after he left the Browns last year. He struggled those 2 seasons with the Browns, but we did see potential when he was with the Chiefs, his first 4 seasons, when he was a contender, his first 4 seasons, that he could be a solid player in the league. And throughout minicamp so far, he has been the star of the defense, and we really like to see that. Also, new cornerback coach Gerald Alexander has been very impressive. He's also just leaning into the communication side of things. In that secondary, we saw a lot of miscommunication late last year that hurt this defense really bad. You can't a lot of blown plays, and you can't have that late into the season, and we had a whole bunch of that. So that was a whole bunch of our downfall last year was because of miscommunication in the secondary, getting picked apart on those 4-by-1 sets. 4-by-1 is like a bunch formation basically, where you got 3 out wide, you got your running back lined up on that side too, so it's all to the right side or all to the left side, and that was really causing miscommunication for the Steelers back end in the end of last season. But let's talk about a couple players that we might see the end of this year, as Cordero Patterson, Dean Lowry, and DeMarvin Leal all, I think, aren't going to make the 53-man roster this year. All were players we heard the names of consistently over the past couple seasons. Cordero Patterson is just been underwhelming after we signed him last year, brought him in to be a factor in the kickoff return game. Really didn't do much, wasn't much of a factor in the backfield either last year, didn't get a whole bunch of touches, just very underwhelming. We would save 2.85 million if we do cut him. Also, the running back room is now kind of stacked. You got Jalen Warren, you got Caleb Johnson now, you got Kenneth Gainwell, and Gainwell is kind of more a younger Cordero Patterson at this point in his career, where he provides more of a kickoff return ability than Patterson. He also provides more of a receiving threat out the backfield, I think, in this point in his career than Patterson. Also, Jalen Warren could be a kickoff threat. So I think Cordero Patterson, we might have seen the end of him. And Dean Lowry and DeMarvin Leal, a lot of the same reasons here. We got a loaded defensive line room. 2 guys you're not going to. It's a tough path for these 2 guys to make the 53-man roster when you got Harmon, Black, Loudermilk, Hayward, Benton, and Adams all there. That's a loaded defensive line room. All of them, I think, are better and are going to get more reps. Dean Lowry, not impressive too much last year in his 12 games, 5 tackles, 1 sack. It's just very underwhelming. Same thing with DeMarvin Leal. I know we used the 3rd-round pick on him. You save 1.4 million though if you do cut him. He has 1 sack in 28 career games. He could have played 51 games so far in his career, only has played 28. Just 2 very underwhelming defensive linemen in a loaded defensive line room. So I think these 3 aren't going to make the 53-man team this year. I'm sorry to say it to them, but I wish you the best in wherever your career takes you next. But let's finish up with a tight end trade rumor once again. I don't understand why so many tight end trade rumors are swirling around the Steelers. I think our tight end room is pretty loaded with Pat Fryermuth and Arnell Washington. I think they can be a solid 1-2 duo. But adding someone like Cole Kmet, if you can get him for the right price, if you can kind of fleece the Bears, I wouldn't mind it if you can only get him for like a 4th, 5th-round pick. Then I'm like really on board with trading for Cole Kmet. But once again, I just don't see the what's the upside in like having two number one tight ends. I much rather go out and give up cap, give up assets for something like a wide receiver two. Like there's still Amari Cooper, there's still Gabe Davis out in free agency. You could still trade for Chris Olave. I just not really too enticed by adding another number one tight end and someone like Cole Kmet, unless you can really get a deal for him. And you might be able to. The Bears did just draft a number one tight end this year in the first round. So Cole Kmet might be able to get for a cheap price, but I just don't see the upside in having two number one tight ends on the team and paying two tight ends for the foreseeable future. But that has been it from Steelers Latest. I've been your host, Cole Dennis, and I will see you tomorrow.